As we now head into Chapter 12, we begin to look at the final sections on services, settlements, and urban patterns, with urban patterns being in Chapter 13, but confining themselves into the idea of services, settlements, and again, connecting it back to that kind of final focus on economic activities. So it's kind of a continuation, moving on from development through industry and manufacturing into the services, quaternary, quinary factor sections. So what we want to look at a lot within this chapter here is to examine the different types of services and explain the role of the central place theory in determining locations of services. So typically also we're thinking business services and why they are located in the types of settlements that they do. So just to kind of again go back to revisiting the idea of economic activity, so we have our five. Okay, we have primary, which is extraction of natural resources. So things, farming, agriculture, mining, fishing, forestry, or, cutting down forests. Then you have your secondary industries, that's manufacturing or processing and manufactured goods. So taking that raw material and turning it into something that's a finished product. And then there's the selling it, which kind of falls into the tertiary, which is, again, the service sector of the economy. And then you have your quinary and quaternary, so, you have your research, and then, your high-end level decision making. And so every country, as we've said, has all five of those economic activities. And so what we've looked at within the idea of like the, developing or less developed or considered, periphery, those are again going to be where you're going to find more of your primary activities. Okay, and then your secondary is going to be kind of in that semi-periphery, still in the developing stages. So again, like countries like India and China. And then we finally have tertiary, which are the service sector ones that are more heavily found in your core countries, or what we consider to be developed or more developed countries. So the idea of what a service or tertiary job is any activity that fulfills a human want or need, and in exchange money is given to those who provide it. All right, so are also a definition of settlements, permanent collection of buildings where people reside, work, and obtain services. So they're connected in with one another because services are always located in distinct parts of settlements because of their location and access to the marketplace, or where they can get their customers and consumers. So that's what we're going to kind of start looking at here in the next, primarily focusing in this chapter on that location for why services are located where they are. All right, and again, a lot of it comes back to stuff that we've mentioned in the last two chapters, things in relation to where you're going to find your workforce, availability of land, costs, all things of that nature are kind of being combined in here, but now we're playing it off, not in terms of manufacturing a product, but of selling it, promoting it, that or a service. Okay, so services are the tertiary sector in more developed countries, or the core countries, or generate more than 2/3 of the gross domestic product. So the vast majority of the money coming into our developed or more developed countries or core countries is coming out of the tertiary sector of the economy. Okay, in less developed countries or developing countries, periphery, semi-periphery, it's less than 1/2, because remember, they're either focused primarily on primary, so agriculture or mining or resource extraction, or again with the idea of the secondary with the manufacturing. Okay, so predominantly within the service sector of the economy, we get three types of jobs. Okay, consumer, business, and public, and we're going to come back to public and business here in a sec. So the idea of a consumer type job or service, okay, is meant to pretty much serve customers who want or can pay for a product, and this is about 50% of the U.S. economy right here. Or I shouldn't say economy, 50% of U.S. jobs working in consumer businesses. And we can kind of see how that's taken a hit predominantly very heavily during the pandemic because of the lack of what you kind of see in here. Okay, so that includes retail and department stores, so things like Target, Walmart, Kohl's, Old Navy. It's just kind of a few kind of examples of retail and department stores. Okay, grocery stores also fit in here. Health, so healthcare. And hospitals, things of that nature. Education, both public and private schools at all various levels would fit under this type of consumer economy, or sorry, I should say private education. I feel like, education's kind of a murky one. Leisure, so again, hotels, restaurants, entertainment. So if you like, going to live music, if you like going to movie theaters, you like going to see, musicals or, on-stage shows or going to sporting events. Those all fit within the leisure part of this. And you kind of think which ones have taken a big hit during the pandemic and which ones have done pretty well as a result of the pandemic, i.e. grocery stores. And then for the leisure part, streaming services would fit in very, very well there. Right? But a lot of the live entertainment has obviously taken a big hit. Okay, now you can see why that's also damaged a large part of the U.S. economy within the hotels, restaurant, entertainment industry. For businesses, okay, the second one, Okay, this isn't, the manufacturing, but it's businesses who help out other businesses or facilitate the activities of other businesses. And this is about 25% of, again, the U.S. job market. So this would account for accounting, banking, trucking, warehouses that hold on to goods for other people, water and electric, consulting, so people who consult on jobs, the economics and finances. Okay, these are people that, do work for other people, all right? And so this is where, those kind of people are, again, the more supporting services to help out other businesses or individuals. So that's what their kind of job is. All right, and again, that's 1/4 of the U.S. jobs. So right here, we have 75% of the U.S. jobs in a given standard state right there. Okay, then we also have what we have, considered to be public jobs. So providing security and protection. So this is, fire, government, police, so government bureaucrats, elected officials, their support staffs. People working in like parks and rec departments would fit under there too. Paramedics, I think, would fall under that as well. And that's about 10% of U.S. jobs. Now, the one thing is, should health and education be considered consumer or public based on, you already paying for it? Is it a public good or service? Is it provided by taxpayer money? But at the same time, where do you really fit that? And so that's a really good discussion that we'll have more in class. But when you add this all up, that's about 85% of U.S. jobs right there, which means the other, 15% or so falls under, primary and secondary type jobs. So that, again, falls under mining, resource extraction, working in factories, agriculture, all right, all those. So again, coming back to a lot of those consumer and business pieces, okay, is kind of the agribusiness side of agriculture, all right, while food production would be kind of in that secondary piece. So a lot of different things obviously falling under those categories. And you can kind of see why we're saying that this constitutes a lot of jobs in the United States. So the largest growth in these types of jobs in terms of services, okay, would be engineering. Okay, so again, manufacturing and doing the research behind that and doing the development and design of things of that nature. So think, also computers, obviously very, very big at this point. Healthcare jobs, so those are obviously still going to be increasing, especially as we get into a larger, elderly care kind of age bracket, as well as the fact of, dealing with the pandemic and doing research related to it. Data processing, so again, taking information, processing it. So think Chandler Bing and Friends when nobody knows what his job is, it's data processing. Advertising, entertainment, recreation, and, relative temp jobs in like the, high holiday seasons. Okay, think about, Christmas, Thanksgiving, where they're looking for temporary work, things of that nature. Typically are those areas of largest growth. Okay, and typically they pay pretty well. But again, not always, especially again for the temp pieces. And then there's a little to no growth areas in service jobs, and those are financial and transportation jobs. And usually transportation, we've kind of seen maybe an uptick a little bit with like things like Lyft and Uber, but not with mass transit. But think about it also in terms of, getting those products from one location to another is considered still part of that transportation piece. But why not here? Why would we not really see growth in financial and transportation? Because of improved efficiency and technology, we don't need as many people, and we don't have to have, and we don't have to pay them. So we have more machines and fewer people, or more, I should say, automated services. So instead of using an accountant, you could use TurboTax. All right. So you have a system and software set up, and yeah, they have people in reserve to help out, but essentially it's a computer system that allows you to do your taxes without actually using a live person. All right. So again, that's why there's no real growth there. Same thing with, banking, same thing with, consulting. You don't need as many people as you automate more and more of said services. All right. So those are things to keep in mind just as we talk about this. And so in the next video, we'll talk about this, looking at where consumer services are found. So this talks about the main types of service jobs, where they're located, types of jobs that they are, where the areas of growth, and where they are not growing here inside the United States and the more developed world. So that's a good place for us to end this introduction video.